3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point, you realized you were married into crazy.
And that's what our podcast is all about. We offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as we unpack this crazy thing called marriage.
So sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
All right, let's go.
Welcome to episode 146 of the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Levy. I'm Levy.
I'm Snooks.
And we are back from Jamaica, man.
Jamaica, man.
We had a phenomenal time. When we talk about a good trip, from the moment we arrived from the airport and then on the way there to the point where we came back, most of us came back. We'll get into that a little bit later. Yes, we lost a few people over there, but we're going to get into that. But no, from beginning to end, it was an amazing trip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we left on Sunday night. We arrived on basically Monday afternoon. And, it was just great being able to traveling with family. It was, except for one cousin flew differently from us. And she was actually supposed to arrive before us, and she didn't arrive until after. So they're calling us and they're like, they have our shuttle ready. And so we kept, where is she? Where is she? They were calling her, but of course she was on airplane mode. So
we were freaking out. We thought, okay, if we lose her, so many people are going to be mad.
Oh my gosh. And my mom, I was just like, Mom, calm down. I just need you to be calm. And she just worried the whole time. So finally our cousin came around the corner and she was like, oh, I guess she flew through Chicago, or I don't know where she flew through. Florida, right. And there were storms out there, so that she was delayed. But we got there, we got in our shuttle. On our way to the resort, our driver, actually, he pulled over to a rest stop. And it was like, you could use the bathroom or you could whatever. It was raining there.
And folks who were on the bus like, I'm not getting off
this bus. And then said,
go ahead.
Oh, then he said something about it was food in there. I was like, oh, they got some jerk chicken.
Right. And then at that point, she goes off. I'm like, okay, well, I can't let her go. There was these dudes sitting in at the bar. I'm like, okay, let me just step in. First off, okay, we jumped right into this, right? Meaning we jumped right in on the podcast. We normally tell some stories beforehand before we get into the lesson. But you know what? This is all about stories today. And if this is your first time listening to the Married into Crazy podcast, just as a reminder, or it can't be a reminder if you've never listened, but we are a couple that's been married for 24 plus years. Well, we can now say 24 and a half years.
Yeah, 24 and a half years.
And we've been through some stuff. The short story is that
Levy was stabbed in the heart.
After we met on a blind date. It wasn't a blind date.
Not the first date. You make it sound like it was the first date. 4 months afterwards, a week after he proposed, my ex-boyfriend showed up, stabbed him. He had 2 open heart surgeries. And year 4, I asked for a divorce. We were able to make our way back to each other. And here we are.
You got to listen all the way through some of the other podcasts. We didn't make our way back to each other. We never left. We were stuck in the house together trying to figure it out.
Oh, good Lord. Anyway,
that's a whole other story.
You always tell that, so I thought I'd jump in and I'd say something.
That's right. Take responsibility for your actions, girl.
Okay. I didn't know that was my
So back to Jamaica.
Whatever.
So we go to the spot, and it wasn't shady or anything, but it was one of those things where, you had the old dudes from the neighborhood that were in there, and as soon as I get off the bus, I walk in. She doesn't know this, but they're eyeballing her up and down, like, who's this girl? And I'm like, okay, I had to make it known real quick that, okay, that's my chick.
I'm your chick.
You're my chick. Okay. So walked in there, and then the dude looked at me like, oh, okay, whatever.
Whatever.
Look, the OGs was up in there like, okay, who's this? This youngin' walking in.
Whatever.
But the food was
so bomb. It was really good. And you know how, I'm not sure how many people out there have been to Jamaica or they live somewhere where it's very humid and it rains. So just give you a little bit of background. So Lovey and I, we have the weather app on our phone.
Right.
And every day, or at least weekly, we would check and see what the weather was looking like out in Jamaica, so that when we get there, we're like, okay, so we're trying to plan accordingly, packing, whatever. So 2 weeks before, all it showed was 60% chance of rain, 80% chance of rain, and it was raining. And so I was like, okay, please let it just rain the week before we get there. So finally, our week shows starts to show our week, and there were some days where it said it wasn't going to rain, but then there were other days where it said it's going to rain. And then I was like, wait, why are we tripping? Because it's hot out there, it's humid, and when it rains, it probably feels better. So we had to have our stuff packed for the rainy season and the heat, and it was crazy. So Lovey's a big thing about you. Well, we all are. Our luggage, how we pack, make sure it's not over. Make sure you don't have this. Make sure you don't have that. I started packing like a week before,
Yeah.
and I was 50 pounds right on the nose. I thought I was going to be lower, but I was 50 pounds right on the nose. So
It worked out because I told people, hey, don't get embarrassed because you will be throwing stuff away when we get there if they say you're over because I'm not trying to pay anything extra.
that's funny.
But back to Jamaica. So after we get on the bus and we take off from the food spot, when we're taking off, it was like the midway point
Mhm.
going from Montego Bay over to Negril. I will say this, that a lot of times people look at Jamaica, and we were guilty as well. Like going to Jamaica, they make it so beautiful, and the land is beautiful. The land is absolutely amazing. The people are amazing.
Some of the
Just
people.
wonderful individuals um, that we met. Because when we go places, when we travel, we try and talk to the people that live there, not just the other travelers. And we met some amazing people like Sana Gay, and Dersha and Sasha
Darisha.
and Dorisha. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, she's gonna kill me.
Yeah. Delano. Oh my gosh.
Prince,
Oh, Fritz. Yeah.
Mark,
Khadi-
Chris, just
Khadijah.
oh my God. There's Kadisha was heck of
Sasha. Did you
funny.
say
I said
Sasha?
Sasha. Yeah,
Lucine.
Giselle. We're just throwing out names left and right.
Yeah.
People over at Beaches and the Grill. Shout out.
Shout out.
But just amazing folks. Amazing folks. They wear their heart on their sleeves. They
And
really do.
and let me just say this, a lot of people will probably say, well, they should be that way, or that's where they work, or I mean, we've done enough traveling to where we've seen, or even when we just go out of town somewhere, how hotel staff are.
Mhm.
And they'll assist you, and they'll answer your question, and then they're done with you. The people at uh beaches in the grill, they were like really authentic and genuine in their dealings with us. It wasn't about,
It's the job.
I wanted, yeah, I'll do this for a tip, because you're not even supposed to tip over there. They tell you you don't tip them
And
because
technically, we
they,
didn't.
yeah, technically we didn't, right? But I mean, they go out of their way. You can ask, okay, so situation came up. I was like, I stopped the guy, he was the pizza guy over in Dino's, and I was like, okay, just can you give me some assistance, can you call someone, whatever. He took it upon himself, he called, he waited, he was like, okay, I'm going to go back over here, as soon as they call me, I'll come and I'll let you know what's going on. And then he told the other supervisor, she came out. I mean, everyone was involved. It wasn't just like, oh, no one said, oh, you have to go to the front office for that, or oh, you need to call the concierge, or oh, you have to go talk to this other person. They got on their phones, and their system was really tight too, because he knew my name. He's like, okay, so you have this going on at this time. I was like, yeah, but there's a mix up because blah blah blah. Everyone knew where everything was, based on room number, based on your last name, everything that you had planned. They knew about it, so they were all ready and able to
Right.
be able to step in and assist at any point.
And I think the greater lesson is that nobody ever passed the buck.
Yeah.
They took it was a personal responsibility of,
Hmm.
like, okay, well, that's not my job, but hey, let me help you anyway.
Hmm.
Everywhere we went, and that was, and that's not a beaches thing. That was a people thing. That was a way that they just were. And it was pretty amazing to actually see that across the board, no matter where we went. As a matter of fact, I couldn't have summed it up any better. There was our last night there. We were having dinner at this restaurant called Stewfish, and while we were sitting there,
Which is bomb. Oh my gosh,
it's
yes.
amazing. If you go to the Beaches and Grill, please don't make the mistake of not going to Stewfish. You got to go. And I'm not talking about for breakfast. Breakfast was like, it was okay. It was good.
Mine was pretty good.
It's a regular breakfast. Dinner there, get reservations.
You have to have
It's so
reservations.
good.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the chef came out and sat with us just to check on us and all that, which was I thought was pretty dope. And we were talking to him, and he pointed out, he's like, look, just so you know, he's like, we don't like me sitting here with you because this has nothing to do with beaches. This isn't because, and he even said it's not because we're supposed to do this because we have guests. He's like, no, he's like, we love our country and we want you to know that this is who we are. This
Hmm.
is what we do.
Yeah, he made it a point to, we're not all criminals. We're not all, because someone had made comments about, oh, you're going over to Jamaica. There's so much crime there. There's so much whatever's going on there. There's a lot of bad things that happen. It's like, well, there's a lot of bad things that happen in the United States.
Right. People in
And
in,
in
in
a
the grill are
affluent,
saying, ooh, don't
yeah,
go to Chicago.
I mean,
Oh,
in
don't go
a
to certain parts of LA.
in affluent neighborhoods, you have things happen. So he was just showing human kindness,
Yep.
and that's exactly what a lot of the people that work there, they showed human
Humankind.
I mean, just being plain human, just being
It was
people.
good. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot, just like every country, just like the United States. You're going to drive through certain parts of the US and you're going to be like, ooh, what's going on in this area? Same thing in Jamaica. You had to drive an hour and a half from Montego Bay to get to Negril. And you drive through some areas that are impoverished, that are having some challenges. I don't even want to call them impoverished because it's a way of life for some of these, for apparently for them. And there's no shade, no shame. It was just that our kids were looking out the window like, oh my God, look over there, look at that. It wasn't what they were accustomed to, but they have to know that be thankful for what you have. But the people that were there were thankful for what they had as well,
Hmm.
even though it wasn't necessarily what you were accustomed to, or I was accustomed to, or our children were accustomed to. But it was one of those things that there was a sense of pride, that national pride, that I wish there was more of here in the US. And I'm not talking about this, oh, I'm proud to be a Republican, or I'm proud to be a Democrat, or I'm proud to be a libertarian, or I'm proud of, no, no, no. There used to be a pride in USA outside of just Olympic years,
Oh yeah.
right? The same pride that people have every year when it comes to Olympics, when we're going up against other countries, that's the kind of pride that Jamaica has all the time.
Hmm.
And it's as one people. And it was pretty amazing to actually see. But there's some things that transpired.
Okay, before we go there, let me just tell y'all one of the most shocking things that I saw while we were in Jamaica. We were on our way to the resort, and we saw, they have restaurants and stuff. They had a KFC out there
Oh,
with a long line out the door. And we are like, KFC got a long. He's like, that's one of the most popular.
Our driver.
Our driver, I'm sorry, yeah. He's like, that's one of the most popular KFCs in the city, or the what
He
do they
said
call them?
KFC. No, he says one of the most popular restaurants
Restaurant. Yeah.
in the city because that line was
Out. I
long.
was like, but it's KFC.
And he was like,
It's not
but he was like, he
Popeyes.
goes, but the brother was funny. He was like, yeah, but it's KFC with Jamaican spices. It
But it was just, I've never, ever, ever, ever seen a KFC. I mean,
was crazy.
that line was so long for some KFC. It almost made me want to say, okay, let's see what they got
Let's
going.
stop and try it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was cool. So we get there. Can I tell you that Snooks danced and danced and danced? We all
Every
we did was
day.
dance and swim
Oh my gosh, every day.
every single day. If we weren't in the ocean, we were in the pool, and if we weren't eating, we were
And
somewhere
I
dancing.
was eating a lot. So I was eating a lot, a
So
lot,
I
a
guess so.
lot.
Of course,
Yeah.
I we went over there and I had my birthday. So we celebrated my 53rd birthday over there in Jamaica, and the night before my birthday on the 15th, one of our cousins was like, "Hey, we need to bring it in the right way. So let's just stay up and just get in the club and party." So the little club that they had up there, they had a DJ. And nothing was really happening. There were a few people that were there. I don't
But
even know where they were from.
this is real quick. So before 11 o'clock is for like the teeny boppers.
Right.
After 11 is for the adults.
So we get in there and there was nobody. The bartender wasn't there. Music's going. And we got a good number of people, and we told some people that we had met there, like, "Hey, come on, we're going to the club." I felt like Will Ferrell in I forget what movie that was. Something like going on the college campus. He's like,
Oh,
he's like,
yeah.
hey, come on, we're going streaking.
Yeah,
And
what
he's like,
is that
everybody's
movie?
going. And I can't think of the
I
name of it
can't
now.
think of the name of it either.
Road trip? No, I can't think of
No,
the name
not
of
Road
it.
Trip.
Bad trip? So I
Oh,
don't even know.
bad trip. College days?
But
I don't know.
that's what it was, right? And so it was like we're walking through. We had been drinking with a bunch of people. And we're like, come on, we're going to the club. We get up there, and the DJ's going. The music's good, but there's nobody behind the bar. So I think, okay, well, we're gonna wait a little while. We're all waiting, and we're like, okay, we want to get our drink on. So me being me, I decide I'm gonna go ahead and I'll just go behind the bar. So I went behind the bar. I'm thinking, how hard can it be? I was gonna start pouring, but I couldn't get the draft thing to actually go because somebody wanted a beer. And then of course the security guy comes up and says, hey, you're not supposed to be behind there. Let me talk to you. So I go out and I'm like, hey, my bad. I'm sorry. It's just that we need something to drink. And the dude was like, no, well, he'll be right back. So the music's going, we start dancing a little bit, and the bartender never shows up, or at least he still hadn't showed up.
Old school.
Oh yeah, the movie was old
Yeah,
school.
sorry.
And so then me being me, I decided, well, I'm gonna go back there and try this again. So I go back a second time, and I'm trying to get, just as I'm reaching for the alcohol to actually start pouring drinks for everybody, security comes up again. This time old boy wants to talk to me over outside. So I'm like, all right. So I go over with him. I'm like, okay, what's going on? And he's like, you tell me what's going on. He's like, you can't be back there. I told you can't do that. He's like, I can't have that. Only the employees. I'm like, well, you need to make a call and get dude here because we're thirsty. We want to drink and we're having a good time, but we're going to leave if we can't sit here and get served because we got to go all the way back to this other bar. And if we go to the other bar, there's no need to come back. The bartender eventually comes. We have the time of our life. Okay, look,
Okay, but I'm not drinking, so don't say we. Like we weren't the ones telling Lovey to go back behind the bar. It was
well,
the
nobody
other
told me to go
people.
back behind
Well, they
the
were
bar.
encouraging it, and Lovey was all for it. He's like, "It's my birthday. I'm doing what I want."
That's pretty much what it was. It's my birthday.
Anyway.
And so we danced. We danced like it was like the 80s, like it was the
Oh my
90s.
gosh.
We danced like MC Hammer was up in the house because not that we were doing MC Hammer moves, just so you know.
But I mean,
We
the level of
danced.
MC Hammer dance, everybody knows. Well, I'm gonna say everyone. If you've never seen an MC Hammer video, you need to go back and watch one. I mean,
It was like
we
the club
danced.
back in the day. When we went to the club, you got your sweat on. I mean, your clothes were
Mhm.
drenched. You were
Yeah,
sweating. There were pools. The ground was wet, not because you spilled a drink, because you
it was
sweating
so
all over the
sweaty.
place. That's what kind of party it was. We had
Yeah,
everybody. Didn't matter where there was white, Asian, black, Mexican. We had everybody on the dance floor kicking it, celebrate my birthday and singing happy birthday to me. It was amazing. Such a good time. And
yeah,
we're
it
gonna
was
tell a few
fun.
stories, but fast forward, that was like our second night there.
Told the guy.
Yeah. So fast forward like 4 nights. We're in a completely different part of the resort, and these young guys walk by, and they're like, "Hey, that's the guy. That's the life of the party over there. That's the guy." And I was like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" And and then they take off. Well, as they go down a little bit further, Snooks and my cousin are down the way. So these guys are telling stories about the night.
Oh yeah, that's the guy who he was behind the bar. He was pouring drinks, and he almost got kicked out by the bouncer came, and they were gonna kick him out and kick him out of the hotel. And
I was like,
I was
first of
like,
all,
what?
I didn't pour any drinks. And no,
Oh
he
my
said I got
gosh.
kicked out of the club and all that.
Yeah, oh my
I didn't get
gosh.
kicked
I was
out.
like, what?
And I was like, well, by the time we leave, they're going to keep telling this. It's like a campfire. They're going to keep telling the story so much that by the time we leave, I probably became the weed man.
He
I killed
murdered
somebody,
somebody. He fought the bouncer.
and I was drinking straight from the hose or whatever. I mean, it was so funny how what really
Oh my
happened transpired,
gosh.
and what he was telling his friends
So
happened.
funny. It was so
We had
funny.
so
But
much
we
fun.
enjoyed ourselves. We had a good time. So then let me just say this too. I want to give a shout out to Mullins Travel.
Yes,
Mullins Travel, you can find them on Facebook. They worked hard for this group of 16 people that went over to Jamaica. Dominic and Malik
Mullins.
Mullins, they worked their Mullins Travel, and they put this trip together for us. Everything that we did, I would call him. I would text her, I would email, and the whole time he was on top of it. Okay, making sure we had all the information, especially for COVID, and we're testing, and how the authorization forms, and just everything that we needed. He told us, gave us heads up about like certain not just the restaurants, but the ins and outs of about the restaurants. He made sure that for Lovey's birthday, like he said, he was over there. We were over there. His birthday, he made sure that we had our family dinner
We had two private family
events.
events on the beach. I mean, we're talking like, and this was like, I should post a picture too on our social media. I'll probably do that. But they weren't like little events. It wasn't like, oh, you're off in the corner. It's not like Chuck E. Cheese. Like, this is your booth. No, I mean, we had like this private,
It's like a beach hut
yeah,
or
it's called the
something.
beach hut, but we had this private area for an all white dinner, kind of like an all white dinner. Then he set up a private dinner for just Snooks and I, a romantic
Candlelight dinner
candlelight dinner on the beach,
on the
with the
beach.
waves crashing, and had the tiki torches. Then it did another one where he did like a family picnic for
With some
Kiana's
games.
graduation. We had games on the beach. We had dedicated staff that were taking us through, just our family through these games. It was just amazing. We had a photographer.
Shout out to Candace.
Candace is the bomb.
Man, if you all go out there, be like, where
Everywhere
Candace
we
at?
went, there she was.
It's so funny too. I guess maybe because it was so much of us, everyone knew everyone knew who we were. Maybe they knew because of your situation at the bar. I don't know.
I became a legend over
Yeah, he
there.
was. But we were like, oh yeah, such as groups, and oh, birthdays, and oh, it's your girls that were celebrating for graduation. Oh, it's your birthday. I mean, it was like they just knew they were there, and they were just so helpful and everything.
Oh yeah, we met people left and right, and it was funny how like every time we went somewhere, they're like, "Hey, Ernie," and I'm like, "I have no idea who that person
Yeah, he
is."
was like Norm. Is it Norm at the
Yeah, it was like
bar?
Norman. I kid you not. We're
On
not making this
Cheers.
up.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
I'm like, who is that?
There was just genuinely good people there. So I
Hmm.
talked to everybody. It was a good time.
Yes, he does.
And look, it wasn't like it was all fun and games because there were some injuries that were had over there. I got a hole in my hand as we speak.
Oh, from the two
We
the
did parasailing, which was cool, but then we did this crazy tubing where they had the speedboat, and then they pull not an inner like a traditional tube. It was a four-seater in the back where you could sit side by
yeah.
side,
I don't even know what it's called.
and it was they call it inner
It's
tube, but this thing was like
yeah.
an inflatable couch,
Oh yeah, it was, huh? It looked
and
just like an inflatable
you got to
couch.
hold on for your dear life. And when we got on there, me, Snooks, and we had our daughter Kiana and her best friend Jocelyn were with us, and we got on this thing. And when they were whipping you around, I mean, it took
Woo! Oh
everything
my
I had
gosh.
to not fly off this thing. But I ended up burning a hole in my hand, in my knuckle, like that pinky knuckle all the way to the end of your hand. There's a big old hole in my hand now. I mean, I was bleeding. I mean, I'm gonna have this scar, but I'm gonna tell somebody I got
Lord,
into a fight.
Lord. Lovey, you know how I'm sorry. I just have to say how men are such babies. So he was like, I think it's infected. I was like, that's just your white meat showing.
Oh, I mean, when we say took it down to the white meat, it was like bad. Anyway, I got a hole in my hand. So our mother-in-law got hurt dancing because
Oh,
she was just dancing her
my
butt off
mom.
every
So
night.
after Lovey's dinner, they had the chocolate and champagne or something
Oh,
like
right,
that
right, 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 right.
dance party with a silent one where you put your headphones on. There were three different DJs going, and you could click to whatever DJ that you wanted. So we were up there dancing, and you know, we kind of took over that party
We
because
did a Soul Train
we did a
line.
soul train, and then everybody
Everybody
was
started
over
joining
where
in.
we were, and even the dancers that were supposed to be up front, they came back and they joined our party, and I mean, man, it was just so
When
much
we say we had a
fun.
good time, look, y'all got to
I can't even
go
tell you.
to Jamaica and
Yeah.
have a good. So then, I see. I got a hole in my hand. Mom hurt her back. Her sciatica was messing with her.
Yeah.
We had two people get sick. We had a couple of the cousins. And our daughter's boyfriend
He
ended
got
up
sick.
getting
Yeah.
all kind of. I mean, just not like COVID or anything, but it was like nasally, almost like a cold type thing, almost like
Yeah.
a
He was
sinus
miserable.
infection type thing. They got that, and then the coup de grace. So the night that we partied on the 15th, right before my birthday, I will say I drank a little too much. I had a bit of a headache the next day, so The next day I was hurting. I was like, I laid in bed for the first part of the day, and I got up, and then my brother-in-law, he was down for the count.
Shout out to McKaylee Brooks.
Mr. McKinley Brooks and Rashida,
Yes, my
his
loving
nurse,
sister.
because he was like, man, I don't know what's going on. So he was up puking all day. So I was like, you can't hold your liquor, make a little joke
Yeah,
here and
him and
there.
my cousin Cashan.
So we actually ended up having I think we were talking about, okay, well, we're going to spend this day just drinking water. So we drank a lot of water on my birthday until
No,
the
that was the
evening.
next day, Thursday.
But no, but it was the 15th, the night before, when we did a
Oh,
ton of
got you.
drinking.
That's right. That's
So
right.
it was on my birthday, or that first half of the day, I had nothing but water, 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 and more water. And he was puking his guts out. So we're thinking, oh, you must have you're not used to drinking like that. Then he got better and everything was cool, but he said, he just didn't feel right. And day went on, and then like maybe in our fourth day, found out he was like throwing up all over again.
So on Friday we had to go do our COVID test because you had to take the test 3 days prior to. And when he came down, he was just kind of sitting there, and Ross said he was sick. And I was like, McKaylee, he was like, yeah, I was throwing up again. And so we were trying to, like, where did you eat? What
Because
restaurant
we,
did you
we
eat
ate at
at?
all the same places.
What did you have? This, not whatever. So that full day, he was just out of commission. So didn't see him anymore at that point. The next day, we saw Rashida, and she was like, McKaylee's sick. The nurse had to go see him. He had to get an IV. And then they said that he had to go to the hospital. And we was like, wait, what? What do you mean he got to go
Why
to the
go to hospital?
hospital?
Right.
Yeah. And so they had to take him they took him to the hospital, and she went with him to the hospital. We're freaking out because I'm like, we're in a different country. We're not.
And we got the insurance, all that we
Yeah,
needed.
but
And
it's still scary because you have your own doctors, and even if you go to if I went to another state, you figure that the it still kind of probably works the same way.
right, it'll get adjudicated, sent over to
Right.
you.
So then
Then so they arrive at the hospital, and they're like, okay, well, they're going to run some labs, that and the other. Well, I mean, several $1,000s later,
oh yeah, he
our
has.
sister's coming out of pocket for all this up front. And so then they're like, okay, well, our CT scan doesn't work.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So they got to transport him an hour away to another hospital
Hmm.
in order to get a CT scan. It was like a medical clinic where they had this, like a diagnostic lab or something like that. So then they had to go do that. So it was crazy. So I'm like, okay, wait a minute. We got to make sure these guys aren't getting abducted.
I know, I know.
They were freaking out.
Yeah,
Our
I was.
sis,
Yeah,
she's not one to travel. Does not want to get on a plane. And now we're in a foreign country, and they got to go off the reservation, so to speak. They got to go off the resort, and they got to go and go to a
see
hospital and
somewhere
then get
else.
transported somewhere
Somewhere
else.
else.
It was just becoming a big ordeal.
And my mom was freaking out. She was driving me crazy. I was like, Ma, I talked to Rashida. We've been texting. My niece was with her. And so I felt like every 10 minutes or so, okay, so has anybody talked to Rashida? Yes, we talked to Rashida.
I know, it's just going back and forth.
She's
So
driving me
then
crazy.
he finally gets the lab results back, and they what they suspected, they said what they have an idea what's going on, but they needed to confirm it. He had acute appendicitis. So they said we have to do surgery.
Oh my gosh.
We're like,
Yeah.
whoa, 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 hold on.
We don't know you. We don't know you, doctor.
I don't know you like that, man. You can't be cutting me. So don't be kissing me, don't be cutting me.
Oh
And
man.
he and they're like, okay, well, we can't do that here in the country. Can we get like a second opinion? Can we figure something out? Is there a way that we can get this thing moved to where is he good enough to travel? Can he wait to
At least
where
to
we
New
can fly
York or
back? At least get
something.
him to New York. So then he can actually get, go to a hospital near JFK. And, at least then we know the insurance, because they were saying, oh, we don't take your insurance. It was all kinds of craziness. And the bill was going to be just for the surgery an additional 20 grand. And we're like, wait a minute, this is crazy. So at that point, I'm telling sis, like, okay, something's got to change. And then it dawned on me, like, oh, you got to call the embassy. So, I pull it up and then give her the information. So now we're like having her tell her she's got to contact the U.S. Embassy in Jamaica, and you got to contact, the insurance company back in the United States. And then you got to, it's just all these different things. You got to talk to the resort manager. Then you got to talk to the airline. It became this huge, huge ordeal.
So
Meanwhile, bro stuck in the hospital.
Yeah, he was in the hospital. So she came back. She's like, I'm coming back to get well, he's gonna have the surgery, which I didn't agree with because I was like, nope, I'm not comfortable. If I'm not comfortable, I don't want it to happen. But anyway,
Well, shout out to Kai, our niece, because she worked some magic. She was like, there's got to be somebody that can make this happen. Kai was able to talk to some international people
yeah,
that
so
ended
for
up
their
getting it all
medical
paid for.
insurance
Yep.
and stuff.
So
Um, so she came back to the resort and it took everything I had not to cry. And I know she was like, she was trying to be strong. And I'm like, are you okay? She's like, no. And I was like, me either. We're hugging. And I was just like, okay, I'm fanning my eyes. And he, she's fanning hers and got their stuff together. And so she went back to,
are we supposed to be telling all their business? Too
sorry,
late.
sorry,
Sorry,
sis.
sis.
Went back, but and then she called us and let us know they had already started the surgery. But I mean, all's well that ends well. He's fine now.
Had the surgeries and recovery. They're staying
Yeah,
in a
so
hotel for another couple of days. They'll be back. But the reason why we're saying all this is because there is nothing greater than family. And shout out this whole episode is dedicated to McKaylee and Rashida because the show is called Married into Crazy. And Ra hates flying with a passion and was able to fly internationally because she wanted to experience something new and different with her family, with her
well,
daughter and her husband.
she experienced something new and
And
different.
yeah, right. And then it got crazy because, then her husband has to have an emergency surgery in another country.
Yeah.
And this whole process, normally it's him that hovers over her. And McKaylee is he's in law enforcement and he's the protector, the great protector, the guy that stands over. I mean, he's like a pit bull. We were playing a game one night and he was like as much as he was hurting. Now that I look back, as much as he was
Yeah,
hurting,
because he was in pain when you think about it. We standing up there.
there's a picture that we have, and they're like, "Why does he got that face on?" Well, now we know why. But it's funny. His response to stuff is always like, "Oh," it's like real. Well, we have similar
He's
responses,
so
but
funny. When
she had to become, the protector of the family. So Ross, shout outs to you, sis, because you became that pit bull that was like, you're gonna take care of my husband, and you're gonna make sure you got her. I don't care what country in, you will make things right, and you will fix him.
and if you could see my sister, she's a little bitty thing, and she has a very, very quiet voice. She just talks like this a little bit, but she's very intense too, though. And like Lovey was saying, with McKaylee, you know, he's like that. And it's with all the women in the family. When
Super protective.
super super protective. I said, oh, something about mom going back to the room. He goes, no, we walking her back to the room. And I made a joke or something about some guy. He's like, huh, we talking about, and who I be about? I be talking about mom, blah blah, trying to talk to mom, this and that. But I said, boy, if you don't be quiet. But he's like that. Good people, good people, good people, and super protective. So it's like if you would ever meet him and he's in charge of making sure that all goes well, he's going to take his job very seriously.
That's what he does,
Yeah.
and that's just who he is.
Hmm.
And to see the roles reversed to where he was incapacitated, as a matter of fact, last time we saw him over there, he was on a gurney.
Oh, I didn't see
Oh
that.
well, so when all this was going down in the transport, I just didn't sit right with me. I needed to go see him, so jumped up, threw some clothes on, and basically ran. I ran in a big old circle because they were right by our room. But because they said that he's at the tent, the medical tent. I'm like, where's the medical tent? I don't know where the medical tent is. So I'm running up. I ran up to the front desk to be like, okay, well, where's the medical tent? But as I was running up to the front desk, I mean, I'm not lying. I'm in flip flops running, and I get to the front desk. As I'm getting there, I'm like, well, that's an ambulance over there. And the EMT was getting out of there with the gurney, and he was wheeling it back. So I'm like, and the dude was probably about a good, I don't know, 100 yards ahead of me. I'm like, I'm gonna go follow him because I'm pretty sure they're not coming for anybody but my bro. So I take off running after them, and then this dude's bobbing and weaving. I'm like, wait, where's he going? So I'm following through and when I finally catch up to him, he's already made it in right to the door of the nurses unit, which was probably like just two buildings over from where I was. So
Yeah.
it was a big old, anyway. So, but the last time I saw him it was on the gurney being placed in the ambulance. And, he was sitting there, but sis was like, I'm right there with him.
Hmm.
She's like, they're saying, I don't know if that I can go, but I'm going. She was intent, like he ain't going nowhere that I can't
I
go.
know that's right.
And so it's important that when we get in our relationships, that it's just you're there for each other. When they say ride or die, is ride or die. Ain't nobody dying, by the way, but it's just ride, 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 ride for your spouse.
And be ready, because sometimes, like Lovey was saying, we always talk about McKaylee, because he's so funny when he's just like, he's sitting there with his arms across his chest, and he'll just be looking around. He may not smile or whatever. At first, when I first met him, I was like, dang, do he ever smile? But he, very loving, very caring person. But he just let you know, I'm here. If anything jump off, I'm here. But you never know when the role is going to have to be reversed, where you have to be the one that's like, oh, hold on, let me pop off for a minute. Let me make sure that my maid is taken care of, so be ready.
Right. Let me tell you about my sister Ra. Rashida was about to cut a fool if they came anywhere near her husband. She's like, you don't got to worry about a doctor using a scalpel, because this girl was like ready to jump, pounce on anybody that looked at her husband the wrong way,
So
came up with the wrong
funny.
decision. You know what? Good for you, sis, handling your biz and taking care of your family. Um, shout out to you. This whole episode is for you, and it's a trip because coming back just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
They always say, no, leave no one behind, and we all felt some kind of way when it came
Hmm.
time to leave, knowing that we were still waiting to hear, for him to get what's it called, discharged.
Yeah, because while we were still there, I mean, and I think we all felt a little bit better too, because he did have the surgery early enough so that before we left, he was he was out of surgery and
In recovery.
in recovery. So that was a good thing. And we were praying, 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 praying.
It was a trip too, because they were saying that if this thing did get fixed, as far as like the insurance challenges that they were having, like they didn't accept his insurance and all this, that, and the other, and they didn't work with that particular group. And when their daughter stepped in, she was like, "Look, I'm gonna handle this." So she got it fixed and worked out to where she got that international group. I don't know who it is, but got this other group to intercede on their behalf, and then got everything taken care of. The doctor was like, because basically it was, if you can't pay, we can't do nothing for you. They weren't going to do anything, and they said we got to send you over to the free. They called it the free hospital, which is like the county hospital here at home. Look, we had told a couple of the friends that we had made in the hotel, or the resort, people that lived there, what was going on, and they were like, "Ooh, no, he don't want to go to the free one." They were like, their eyes got big, like, "No, no, you don't want to go there." So it all worked out really well, and it's just one of those things where you just never know where life is going to take you. But if you're together, if your bond is strong, you can see each other through absolutely anything.
So, not to take away from them, but I do want to say hi to another couple that we met while we were
Yes.
over there, because just bringing up
And
about
don't
the
say too
bond
much, because you're going to meet this couple.
bond being strong, and so Nitra and Chris.
Yes, Nitra and Chris Word.
Oh, word up. No.
If you want to check them out on their social media, you want to go to I say love, laugh, word
Word.
is their social media handle. But they're a phenomenal couple that we had met over there celebrating with their little daughter,
Oh my gosh. So
precious little angel.
that's exactly how we met, because seen them, but I saw the baby and fell in love with this little girl. Oh my gosh. She is like the cutest thing ever. Her eyes remind me of Ashanti's eyes when she was born.
So I didn't say it when I was there, but I wanted to tell you that she reminded me of Ashanti.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but it is so funny, because I promise you, everywhere we went, we saw them. So we just kind of started saying hi, just because I was like, "Oh, look at the baby!" Every time I would say hi to them and say something to the baby, more Denitra than
Right.
because Chris was kind of just like in the background looking like, "Don't touch my baby," no. But and it just we just started talking, and just wow, it was
One
unbelievable.
one day, I don't know why,
Unbelievable.
like she said, everywhere we went, there they were.
They were there.
And there was this one day we were just sitting outside, and
We ran up on them.
we just started talking. So we said, "Well, since we're all sitting here, let's just talk." And we started. There was so many, um,
First of all, a lot of
a lot of
similarities.
similar. That's what I'm saying. A
I
lot
was
of
like,
similarities.
is she my little sister from somewhere? Or it's
Crazy, but you know what?
crazy,
That's all we're gonna
crazy.
say, because they agreed to actually come on Married into Crazy as a couple spotlight that we want to talk to. So
Yeah.
yeah, Nitra and Chris out of North Carolina. We're looking
Yep.
forward to talking with you. We're going to connect soon. And we exchange numbers, all that. Phenomenal couple with an amazing story to tell.
Yeah.
Um, so you know what? You got any you want to tell some more about Jamaica?
Oh man, just how we ate and danced and ate and danced
And
and
sweat
ate.
and
Ooh,
sweat
you
and
know it's
sweat.
so funny. So
Okay,
I was thinking,
wait,
what?
before we go there, I just gotta say, I gotta say this part. I do want to apologize to the country of Jamaica, particularly to the gentlemen that were on the beach, because when my daughter and her boyfriend went parasailing, the military in me came out because all of us that had done
Oh
it,
my gosh. Yes. No, you
I
were
was ready to
supposed to
take a
do
fool out.
you did exactly what you were supposed to
So
do.
they had been gone for a minute because the thing was when you did the parasailing, they got it down to a science. It was like, so you go out on one boat and they take you to the other boat that's doing the parasailing, and they do these like people exchanges,
Exchanges. Hmm.
going from boat to boat and this, that, and the other. Well, our young daughter and her best friend were there, and so they all went out together to do one thing. Then they transferred boats to the so our other daughter and her boyfriend could actually go parasailing. Well, I'm like, wait a minute. An hour
It
later,
was an hour later,
I'm
over
like,
an
because
hour.
because Snooks and I were out in the ocean, we were swimming, and then we were like, wait a minute. I'm like, I'm
I
looking up
was
at the
like, have you
sky,
seen Ashanti and
and I'm
Aaron?
like, I don't see any parasail. I don't see any parachute up in the sky. As a matter of fact, I don't see none of those
The boat.
boats.
Hmm.
And then I looked up on the shore, and I'm like, as a matter of fact,
I don't even see the
I don't even see the
guys.
dudes because
Right.
because every day the beach had a bunch of dudes, the hustlers, because the locals call them the hustlers. The guys are out there selling the parasail stuff. You got some people come out there selling woodwork and these different things. But these guys that were selling the parasail and the different events, the motorized things, they're everywhere, and they were all gone. So then my daddy antenna went up strong, and so I went over to security. Security's everywhere. Security's got a watchful eye, so everyone's safe. But
Hmm.
I go to security and I'm like, I need to see your chart because you got to sign in when you leave the resort and you participate in some of these water sports. You got to sign in. You got to tell them your room number, all that. Security's
Hmm.
keeping track of when you go off with somebody else that's not part of beaches, which is cool. I'm like, I felt bad. I walked up to him, I'm like, hey, I need to see your thing. He's like, excuse me. And I was like, I need to see the sign-in sheet because my daughter's out there with her boyfriend. I want to see what time they left. So he's like, he tries to pick it so he can look. I took it from him and he looked at me and I was like, this is my daughter. And so he's like, okay, go ahead and look. So then I take a look and I'm looking at like, okay, what time is it? I'm looking at the time. I'm like, okay, they've been gone for an hour. He's like, I'm sure everything's fine. I'm like, okay, well, where are all the guys at? Where are the hustlers at? He's like, oh, they're around. I'm like, I don't see them. Haven't
Yeah.
seen for the last 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, okay, somebody needs to bring my daughter back. So then I walk out. So I got this I'm in Liam Neeson mode at this point. I'm going through my whole taken thing. And y'all remember we went to Italy? Anyway, so I'm walking the beach now. So I'm walking down the beach away from the resort. And I came across one of the fellas that was hanging out with
The main guy.
the main guy that we had set up our kids with. And we had done a lot of this, the motorized stuff. So I go up to him. He's just sitting there chilling in a chair. And I was like, yo, 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 hey, come here. Let me holler at you real quick. He gets up. Oh, what's up, man? What can I do for you? And that was a bad accent. But he comes up
I wasn't gonna say
and I was like,
anything.
where's my daughter and her boyfriend at? Oh, they just out parasail. I'm like, I point to the sky and I go, show me a parachute. Show me where there's
None
a parasail.
anywhere. There was no
He actually
parasail
looked up like, oh, I'm sure they went around the other side. And nobody else went around the other side.
ever. Well, the whole time that we were
And I'm
there,
like, and I told
they
him, I'm
were
like,
right in the
bruh,
middle
I
ocean.
said, I don't even hear a boat. Where are they at? And he's like, oh, they'll be back in 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, how do you know that? Because they've been gone for an hour. I was like, you need to get on your radio, find out where they are. So this time he gets on, so he walks over to another guy and he's like, okay, they'll be back soon. And but I didn't see him touch a radio. So I'm standing there and I guess he thought I was going to walk away. So he starts walking away from me down the beach. So I'm thinking, so he goes up and this other guy comes out of this, which was kind of funny. It was like these trees. All
Oh
of a sudden,
yeah,
this
right.
dude comes out of these trees. I'm like, where the hell did he come from? This dude comes out through these trees and they're talking. So I start walking towards them. Then I stop and I want them to know that I'm watching them. Cause I kid you not. All I was thinking was like, if these dudes take off running, I'm gonna catch them and something's gonna happen. But then he started walking back towards me. And then he says, okay, they're at the other island. They went around the way and they were exchanging some people for different events, different motorsports. Because there's another kind of, there were several different things that you could do. And he said, so they were exchanging people from boat to boat to boat. And I was like, I don't know. So then, he says, I promise you they'll be back in about 10 minutes. They're on their way now. And so they did show up. They came back and I felt better, but I was on edge the entire time. They come up. But what's funny is they come through and my daughter and her boyfriend comes up. He's like, I had to ask her, are we, what he said, he goes, are we getting sex trafficked? Because he said that, yeah. So Aaron goes, yeah. He goes, I had to ask, are we getting sex trafficked? Because I guess they switched boats so many times because they were moving people to do the different events that they were getting a little, not concerned, but like, okay, what's going
I
on?
was concerned because it was, like Lovey said, it was a long time, and we weren't tripping at first. And the guy was like, "Well, they stood on the beach for a long time before they got in boat." I said, "But I know what time they got in the boat. I know when they got in the boat because we were watching." You know. Oh, okay, okay. And I was like, Lord, please don't make me blow
But
Jamaica
it was
up because I'm
right.
going
I
off.
like these people. I don't want to have to
I
destroy the country.
promise.
What was funny is that because everybody else, us included, every time they gave a ride, they did this different things, whether it was parasailing or it was the tube they were pulling or the banana or there was a couple of different things. Um, it was usually about 15, 20 minutes. When everybody was like 15, maybe 25 minutes max. And people were back. From the time they got in the boat, they go out, do something, then they come back to shore.
And they stayed in this particular
And
area
yeah,
too.
we saw them the entire time.
Hmm.
For an hour to be gone, and all of a sudden we see no parasailing, we see no boats, we see none of the
Right.
people. It was a trip. It was a little bit of a scary moment there, but it all worked out. Everything was cool. People were fine. And if you go to Beaches and the Grill, go see Peter.
Peter is the
Peter,
guy.
as he would say, Peter is the man.
Peter is the guy. Yeah.
And no, it was a really good time. So that is our story about Jamaica. Because man, look, we're gonna call this one "Jamaican Me CRAZY" because it was a wonderful time, but it was definitely a crazy time.
Yeah.
So if you would go
If
ahead
I
and grab
would,
the
I will. I will.
we're grabbing the I can so we can actually do the one of the affirmations of, as you all know, the I can for couples, which is available for retail on the website. It's less than $10. This thing is great. And so what we do is we all reach in and we reach for an affirmation that starts with I can. Little things that we do to make the marriage work, make the relationship work. What does yours say?
I can be more patient with my partner.
Please be. Please be more patient. She
Yeah.
wasn't when we were packing. She was not patient with me
When we were packing,
coming back.
oh, because when we were packing going,
You took a week. I was good on that. Mine says I can share more often. See, I'm supposed to share with you more
oh
often.
no, it's okay.
The one thing she doesn't want.
Nuh-uh.
No.
Share his opinions.
Hey, we appreciate each and every one of you for listening. Please, we should have said it a lot earlier, but go to iTunes, give us that 5-star rating, leave a review, tell your friends about us, tell your mama, tell your auntie, tell your cousin, tell everybody about the Married into Crazy podcast, and be on the lookout. We're going to have that incredible couple that we told you about, the Words. We're going to have them on in the near future. We still have to connect with them, set a date and schedule. Um, and we have a few other things coming up. We've got some other people that are waiting in the wings, some other couples that we've had on standby. And we've got a few things, some changes coming up for the Married into Crazy podcast, as well as Married into Crazy coaching. Coaching is going strong. It's going well. We love the fact that people are trusting us and allowing us to work with you and your spouse or you and your fiance. And we're open. We're always, there's only really enough space for maybe at this juncture, maybe 2 more couples that we can take on. We've got another one that just came on board, and we have only maybe 2 more spots that we feel comfortable in working with so we can give everybody our undivided attention.
Unless you all start, putting those requests in and I just have to leave my day job.
There's an opportunity there as well. So, hey,
More time with Snooks.
that might even be a podcast. More time with
Hey.
Snooks. Until the next time, be blessed.
Bye bye.